Hey there you guys, so welcome to technically another episode of Mexican Reel. I wanted to do it such as this was about the transitional period in Mexican movies, but I just saw Coco. So in this episode of Mexican Reel, let's talk about Day of the Dead. It's been like 3 weeks since Coco came out, at least in the United States. But here in Mexico, actually, the movie has already like a month and something that it has been in the cinema. Because, of course, here in Mexico, it was released on the Day of the Dead, which is the 2nd of November. So, it's not really the first time the Day of the Dead makes it into cinema, but it's the first time that Disney tried to portray a Mexican story. But how good is it really? I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of reservations when I saw the whole Coco trailer and kind of the story that it was going for. And not so much because it didn't look Mexican or because it wasn't representing properly my favorite holiday in Mexico. Rather because, well, whenever it's about the living dead as a friendly thing, it always kind of seems the same type of story, which is kind of like what I wanted to discuss today. But first, like I was saying, I don't want to say fan, but I really love Day of the Dead. Here are some proofs for that. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite holidays here in Mexico. So I don't know how to explain it because I wasn't expecting a lot from the movie, but at the same time I kinda was. Like I was saying, there's always this issue with Day of the Dead narratives, which surprisingly there are few. But before we say that, is Coco a good movie? Yeah. Did I like it? Yeah. Is it one of my favorite movies? No. But I want to first, before I go into the whole issue with the Day of the Dead narratives, talk about the stuff that I really liked about Coco. So, first things first. How does it portray Day of the Dead? As Mexican, Day of the Dead is one of those really long traditions that you don't really know where it came from, but you cannot help but be sucked into it every year that it happens. Some people are always fascinated by how we celebrate dead, but this has always been my slogan about Day of the Dead. It's not about the dead, it's about the living. On the Day of the Dead, we remember those that have passed on, either our families, celebrities, whoever. And we do this by making a shrine or an altar. And in here we put a picture of the person and elements for the person to be called in from the other world so they can come and visit us. You have to put their stuff that they like in real life. You have to put certain elements like water, fire, earth, wind through the paper, like that colorful paper. It's meant to represent the wind or the air. And also the orange flower that appears all over the movie, the cempasúchil flower. This flower meant to represent the bridge between over there and here. So all of these elements, they were in Coco. Now, definitely one of my favorite parts about Coco was the visuals, because holy shit, I have never seen something look more Mexican than Coco. Like the amount of detail that they put into it, it was amazing. One of my favorite visuals of the whole thing was definitely the flower bridge. The flower bridge, it's very representative of the Day of the Dead. I really like how they did it. How so the dead characters that are coming to visit, they have to pass through like a border, which is like, being a Mexican that lives on the border, it was hilarious because it looks just like the American border, and Pixar knew this. They knew exactly how to do it. So if someone puts your picture in an altar, you get like, that's their passport. So you get to go and visit the land of the living, and you can cross the bridge. But if no one puts your picture on an altar, then you cannot cross, and actually you cannot even stand on the bridge. Like the bridge becomes like what it is, it's just petals. And I thought that was really fun and interesting. I really, really like that. The thing I was not expecting was the use of alebrijes. So alebrijes are, they're meant to guard the dead. And here in Mexico, what they are is that they are these paper kind of fantastic animals, and they were all over the movie as well. They were really, really beautiful, and I really like that. Also, the portrayal of a Mexican family was just like spot on. But one of the things that makes me laugh a lot is that this movie wanted to be so freaking Mexican that even the dog is like the most Mexican thing ever. So if you don't know which dog I'm talking about Dante, which is like the Miguel's, like the main kid pet, which is this dog. It's a Mexican hairless dog. It's like the most Mexican thing ever. It was like, even the dog had to be completely Mexican. Like, those dogs are really unusual dogs. Like, they're like special breed because they're like really expensive dogs. And here we have like, I don't know, he's like a hairless Mexican dog. He's a solo squinkle, and he's just there on the street walking. I thought it was really funny. But if we can be totally honest, I'm glad that they did choose that dog, because I've been wanting a dog like that my whole life. And maybe it will get popular and I can finally get one, because look at them, they're so cute. Okay, they don't have hair, but they're cute. What else did I like? I also really like the jokes. The jokes were definitely very Mexicanized jokes, especially the one about Frida Kahlo. Holy shit, I was laughing so much. As you noticed, I also love Frida Kahlo a lot. And so in the movie, she's like this really pretentious dead character. She's like, she's going to be making this exposition, and it's hilarious. If you don't know who Frida Kahlo is as a painter, she was very well known for her self-portraits, and they're always like sad and in fire, or she's in pain and stuff like that. And it was hilarious just to see her there, and she was like, yes, and then we will have a cactus, and the cactus is me, and then the cactus cries, and then there's fire. So it was really funny to see Frida Kahlo, this really self-absorbed, hilarious artist. I was just laughing my ass off every time I saw her. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of elements of Mexicanity, but I think the most important one is, of course, that of family. So I will go into spoilers here. If you haven't seen Coco but feel like seeing it, definitely turn off at this point, because, well, no, at least go to this timestamp, because I will be talking about the Day of the Dead narratives, and that doesn't go into spoilers that much. So, spoilers. So the movie of Coco, I always did wonder, like, why is it called Coco? Like, what the hell? So the story is about a family whose the main unit was the mom, the dad, and the daughter's name is Coco. So the dad left because he wanted to be a famous musician, and the mom got really upset at this, and she just like forbidden music in the life of the family, and now they make shoes. So that is my first issue with Coco, that it's it's footloose with Mexican people. Like, the family doesn't do music, they don't like music because music is of the devil, because it separated the family. And this narrative has been told to Dad that, of course, we have Miguel, who's the main character, and he doesn't fit in because he wants to be a musician. So he goes into an adventure because he wants to prove his family that music is good, and he doesn't want to be a shoemaker. So on that front, you know exactly what is going to happen. He's going to prove his family wrong, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And yes, that is what happens. But the payoff is really good, in the sense that Miguel kind of takes aback about his whole love for music, because throughout the entire movie he's running away from his family pretty much. So what happens is that he wants to show his grandmother that he can be a really good musician, you know, and his grandmother is the daughter of Coco. She's like, you're not gonna play music in my house because Mexican mothers. And believe you me, I know that this looks very stereotypical of this kind of storytelling, but that mom, that grandma, such a Mexican grandma. Like, there's this part where she takes off her shoes and starts hitting people with it. That's such a Mexican thing of grandmas. Like, they do that. They do take their shoes off and hit you with it. It's really funny. Anyways, but he tries to prove her wrong by making his own guitar, Miguel. But it's a guitar that resembles pretty much cartoon Pedro Infante. Like, look at them, they're identical. They really do look alike. So anyhow, Miguel tries to prove to his grandmother that music is fine, and then he finds out through his very characteristic guitar that maybe this Pedro Infante character was his grandfather. So he's like, well, you know, I have music in my soul, like I have to be yeah, you're typically, it's like Footloose, like I say. And what happened is that he ends up stealing the guitar of the Pedro Infante character. And when he does this, he's transported to the land of the dead. And then while he was running away, he took the picture of the Pedro Infante character, or what he thinks is the Pedro Infante character, Coco, and the great-great-grandmother, which is Mama Imelda. And because he took the picture, now Mama Imelda cannot cross over. Like I was saying, they have to pass through the American style border, and his dead relatives come to his aid, and they try to figure out, you know, because they want to go visit and be okay. As it turns out, Miguel is cursed, and the only way that he can get uncursed is if he gets the blessing of one of his family members. But the family decides what kind of blessing they're gonna give him. So Mama Imelda is like, okay, you can go back. I forbid you, you're uncursed, but you will never play music ever again. And Miguel is like, yeah, fine, whatever. But the instant he touches the guitar, he comes back to the land of the dead. And that is like, well, yes, because you broke your word. So I thought that was interesting, because usually movies like this, they have this, you know, the road of redemption, where the character has to go and do a thing. But in here, more than anything, it was that Miguel was running away from his family because he didn't like the fact that they were putting him terms and conditions to the way he wanted to live. You know, he was like, oh, I still have my great-great-grandfather, the Pedro Infante character, who can give me the blessing, and I won't need yours. So it's actually him running away and his family trying to catch up to him to make sure that he's okay. And then on the way he meets another guy, and this is where the spoiler comes in, because this guy, Hector, he's really desperately trying to go to the land of the living, but he can't because no one is putting his picture in any altar. And they really did something quite nice. And this was one of my favorite parts in the whole movie, actually, more than well, that and the ending. But the ending is like this designed to be a tearjerker. But it does acknowledge that eventually there is a final death. That is that when all your relatives died and you eventually become forgotten in time, you do disappear. You know, like because they don't visit the land of the living, they're not alive anymore. They're forgotten, and that is to be dead. And that is a very Day of the Dead tenure, you know, as long as someone remembers you, you're alive. So it was they do put this character that was a friend of Hector, and Hector was like, I also hate music, but the character was like, can you just play guitar for me before I finally pass away? And this is very solemn scene because, you know, Miguel is like staring at it and realizing what it means to be family and what it means to be remembered in the Day of the Dead. More than I want to be a musician. No, he's like, it does have a meaning to be remembered on the Day of the Dead. And then the character passes away. He just disappears. And it's very solemn and very nice. It was definitely my favorite scene outside of the ending. And then Miguel finally finds his calling. He like plays music in front of everyone, is like really happy. And then he confronts his great-great-grandmother, Mama Imelda, about why she doesn't like music and how, you know, they're saying, oh, your family is supposed to stand by you, but you're not standing by me. And then she tells him that, you know, the husband broke her heart because he left her and she used to enjoy music and he took that away from her. And then he finally meets his great-great-great grandfather, fake Pedro Infante. And this is where the whole truth is revealed. So as it turns out, the twist of the movie is that the character of Hector is actually the great-great-grandfather, and the Pedro Infante character killed him, and that's why he never returned. He wanted to return to his house because he wanted to see his daughter, Coco. That's the whole point of the movie, that it is actually about family, you know? And they kind of course, they punish the Pedro Infante character because while now that everything's out in the open and, you know, Hector has come clear with Mama Imelda, and it's a really funny scene because she's still like, I'm still angry with you, like I still hate you, and he explains himself like, oh yeah, you know, fake Pedro Infante killed me. And then she's like, damn it, I'm confused. And then she screams at fake Pedro Infante, you killed the love of my life. And then Hector goes, I was the love of your life? I don't know, I'm still angry at you, shut up. And it's just a natural response, like you've been carrying this like scorn in your soul for a century now, and then you found out that it was like unrequired. Like it totally makes sense that she's totally confused. But it was nice that she didn't immediately forgave him, but she wasn't also like, oh, like I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to, no, like she opened up about it, so that was nice. So then, you know, while the reason that they're chasing after Pedro Infante, fake Pedro Infante, is because he has Hector's picture, and all that he wants is that someone put his picture in an altar because he's about to disappear, because everyone that knew him in life is about to forget about him, and that is of course Coco. Now let's talk about Coco, because the character of Coco, it's not really a character so much, she's more like a symbol, you know. And I just have to say this, the way they animated that old woman, oh my god, she's like the most huggable old lady I have ever seen. They made her like adorable, that everyone loves her and takes care of her, and they don't, you know, like it's really how you would treat someone that elderly. And Hector tells Miguel that okay, he knows he's going to die and he's going to disappear. So he tells him like, okay, given that I couldn't go back in time because they lose the picture of Hector somewhere, can you just sing this song that I wrote for my daughter so she can know that I didn't come back because I couldn't, but that I love her very much, and it's like the central song of the movie. something very nice about the song is that it starts as this really bombastic, like with dance ladies and dancing ladies, and like a chorus, and like really big kind of music. And then at the end of the movie it's just Miguel with his great grandmother just like playing the guitar and telling him that Hector loved her, and that he couldn't return, but he will always love her. And it's a really touching scene because the whole family are there trying to prevent it, and then you see Miguel just trying to convince his great grandmother Coco to try and remember her dad, to not forget her dad. And that is like the end of the day, the point of the movie, that you have to consider your family and always keep them in your heart, and that's what keeps them alive. So as it turns out, Coco actually does remember her dad, and she actually had her picture of him hidden, like the family picture that had his head turned out, ripped off. She had the head. So now Hector can come visit the Day of the Dead, and it ends with the following year, and it does show that Coco has sadly passed away, but it's not a bittersweet moment. It is, I was going to say it's not a sad moment, it's a bittersweet moment, in the sense that yes, it makes sense that someone so elderly passed away, but they do it in a very sweet manner, that she's resting now. Like, it's not a sad death, but she's resting and she's with the rest of her family. And then they show her, of course, in the land of the dead with the mom and the dad, now the three of them finally reunited. And like I was saying, that's a really nice message, that it's all about the family. It was much more about the family than the music. So that's what I really like. Woof. That went on for a bit. So okay, I keep saying that all these nice things about the movie. What didn't I like? Like I was saying, these movies that have Day of the Dead narratives, what I mean by that is that usually, and there are like three movies like this, is The Book of Life, Corpse Bride, and now Coco. They eventually have the same arc, even if the story is a bit different. For instance, Corpse Bride is about this guy that really didn't fit in, and then by some contraption he finds himself in the land of the dead, and the land of the dead is so much brighter and so much better than the land of the living, and the land of the living is really dull and no one likes it, and he has to do a thing before something, because if something happens he's gonna be trapped in the land of the dead and will be able to go back to the land of the living. And then he does the thing, and then there's usually some secret, and then the secret is unveiled, and he comes back to the land of the living more mature and more appreciative of life. So that was the reason why I was so like defensive about seeing Coco, because I was like, I already know what's going to happen. Like, he's gonna go to the land of the dead, and like I said, it does happen. But the cool thing about Coco is that the underlying message is that of family. But this is my frustration. The Day of the Dead has so much more things around it than just going to the land of the dead, and that is, of course, dead itself. Well, making an altar, it's an incredibly important part of the Day of the Dead tradition. It's not the only tradition that we have. We also have other things, like making poems called calaveritas. These poems are usually about some character that has passed away, or maybe some person that's still alive, like a politician or an artist, and the story of how the dead comes and takes them away. And it's like a short poem, and it's a really characteristic also of the Day of the Dead. Also, there's the fact that you can dress up as the dead in the form of the Catrina, and you're just the visual representation of dead. So it's not only just about the freaking altar, it's also like just dead comes to life. And it's a bit sad that the only way that they have found so far to represent this is through literally having a living person visit the land of the dead. So in the first video that I made for Mexican Reel, I was talking about the very first Mexican movie that was nominated for an Oscar. And that movie was also about the Day of the Dead. And that movie is one of my favorite movies, is MACARIO. So the story of MACARIO is actually less complicated than all these other stories. The story, of course, is about a man of native origin, and he is played by Ignacio Lopez Tarso, a personal favorite. And, well, the thing is that it is back when Mexican families used to be really, really huge. And it's also a tale of sacrifice and family. You know, because MACARIO, he knows that he has a lot of kids and he has to feed all of them. And it angers him that he will never have something nice for himself because, well, his family comes first. He's not bitter about having kids, it's just that it's kind of like sacrifices and things that you give up on life to make your family happy. When his wife realizes this, she decides to do something about it. So on the Day of the Dead, she buys him a whole turkey for himself. And MACARIO runs off, so his kids cannot see it, and they're not gonna be like, "Dad, give us some turkey." So he runs away, and he's about to eat the full turkey when three mysterious figures come about him. Now, this is the most interesting part of the movie because of the representation of these three figures. As you can imagine, the first two are, of course, God and the devil. So God appears as this very gentle traveler who's very wary and he's very hungry. And MACARIO immediately recognizes him. He's like, I'm on your side, I'm a good person, but this turkey is mine.
A ti no te interesa este bocado. Te interesa un gesto que yo haga. Una acción. Tú sabes que yo no he querido nada para mí solo en toda mi vida. Entonces este deseo para ti es un animalito muerto. Apenas un pretexto para hacer que yo me porte bien. Para mí lo es todo. Todo el hambre de mi vida. Todo lo que he dado, todo lo que no he recibido. Perdóname. Yo sé que puedes perdonarme si tú quieres. Yo no quiero convidarte, no quiero. Pero si de veras te interesa este bocado.
Then of course he finds the devil. And the devil is like this very hilarious like super macho ranchero with like really expensive boots and like a twirling mustache, and he's like, give it to me, I'll give you money and fame and all the things that the devil can do to entice you. And MACARIO is like telling him that he knows he's the devil and he won't give it to him, and he runs off again, calling him off.
Déjame en paz. Bueno, MACARIO.
And then finally, the final figure he finds is also just a very regular person, but he feels something different about this person. And he decides to share the turkey with this person. Who was this person? Dead. Dead itself. And that is the cool thing about this, because it's a conversation of a man and death.
¿No te molesta que platiquemos? Trato tan poco a los hombres.
Tampoco.
Nos vemos un instante y en realidad no hay nada que decir ni tiempo para decir nada. ¿Puedo preguntarte una cosa? ¿Por qué me convidaste?
Pues tenías mucha hambre. Se notaba re bien. más de la que haya yo tenido nunca.
¿Y por eso me convidaste?
Pues sí, principalmente por eso.
That acknowledges that God and the devil presented himself to MACARIO, and she's like, why didn't you give your turkey to God or the devil? Because like God was going to bless you and the devil was going to give you money. And then MACARIO says one of my favorite things in this whole tale.
¿Y a mí? Porque a mí sí. Dijiste que principalmente por mi hambre. ¿Hubo entonces alguna otra razón?
Pues la verdad, al mirarte pensé que ya no me quedaba tiempo ni de probar un bocado. Cuando tú te apareces ya no das tiempo de nada. Y entonces calculé que si te daba la mitad y comíamos parejo, mientras tú comieras, comería yo también.
So that it's a simple conversation of a simple man with death. But that is what Day of the Dead is about. It's about the intricacies between life and death. After that, Death finds that answer so cool and so intelligent that it decides to forgive MACARIO's life and to extend his life, and also to bless him with drops of water. So if she says that MACARIO will have the power to heal anyone he sees with the drops of water. But if he goes to a sick person and dead, he's going to be able to see that again, and dead is like on top of the bed of the person, it means that she's going to pick him up and there's nothing that can be done. So MACARIO becomes like incredibly rich and famous because he's able to heal people, and if he says they can't be healed, they cannot be healed and they die. So of course it comes with him being in a position where if he does help someone, he dies, and if he doesn't help someone, he dies. So he pretty much runs away and finds Dead again and tells him, you know what, deal is off. I don't want the water anymore. I don't want this anymore. And the end, it's something kind of poetic as well. So in this very like gothic scenery, we see MACARIO giving up the deal with the dead, and we go back in time to that very beginning scene with him and the turkey. And we see that he doesn't come home. So his wife goes to find him and finds him dead. And he only was able to eat half the turkey, and the dead returned the part that MACARIO gave him. So it's an interesting story. So that's why Coco kind of angered me, because it was like they were like advertising it like the movie about the Day of the Dead to finish all other movies about the Day of the Dead, which is not. What I can say about Coco is that between The Book of Life, Corpse Bride, and Coco, which are pretty much very similar movies, the better one is Coco. So if you're a creator and you want to do something that is about Day of the Dead, May I recommend you see MACARIO first? So yeah, this was just like a huge exposition dump from both of one of my favorite movies, which is MACARIO, and my thoughts on Coco. But what did you thought about Coco? Did you guys went and saw it? Did you didn't? Are you thinking about seeing it someday? Did you saw some Mexican ideas that you hadn't seen before, or did you just like in general the family message? And next on this channel, I'm gonna be doing a video about storytelling in video games, and hopefully you will enjoy. Oh yeah, here in Mexico, the Frozen short, it got cut. Like they removed it because no one liked it. Cause fuck Frozen. So how was this? Like, share, and subscribe. Oh, and also make a movement. Make sure that people like hairless Mexican dogs because they're adorable and we should all have one. They're spiritual guides. That is like an actual thing. Mayans thought they were spiritual guides. And they're really cute. So put in Twitter, I want a hairless Mexican dog. Damn it.